Hello, I'm Councilman at Large Derek Green, and welcome to the first edition of Public Comment. I wanted to have this brief time with you, the citizens of our beloved city, once every quarter to try to discuss and delve into some of the latest hot button issues that I'm working on with my colleagues in City Council. As you know, one of the biggest ongoing conversations is about the future of our public schools. Now that the School Reform Commission has decided and voted to dissolve itself and that local control is returning, this is a very important issue for the entire city of Philadelphia. For me, as a parent with a child in the school district, and the fact that my mother taught in the school district for over 31 years, this issue of the future of public education is one that's very important to me. But in addition to the management and control of our schools, it's also important to talk about what's going on in our schools from a physical safety perspective. In a few moments, we'll sit down and talk with Mr. Jerry Roseman. He is the Director of Environmental Science and Occupational Safety with the Philadelphia Federation of Teachers, and we'll discuss what's going on in our schools. We'll be right back with more Public Comment. Welcome back to Public Comment. Over the past 2 years, there have been a number of issues at our city schools. Issues dealing with mold and other public health concerns in our schools. This has led to a number of issues and concerns that members of City Council have had regarding these issues. One of my first legislative actions was to introduce a resolution regarding the public safety of our schools and the physical environment of our schools. This resolution was based on the unfortunate situation where SEIU member Chris Trackmus lost his life during a boiler explosion at F.S. Edmonds Elementary School. This issue and other issues led members of City Council to join with the Philadelphia Federation of Teachers, Parents Union, SEIU, Principals Union, and Philipposh to form the Philadelphia Healthy School Initiative to address issues regarding the physical safety and the physical environment of our schools. With me here today is Mr. Jerry Roseman. He is the Director of Environmental Science and Occupational Safety and Health for the Philadelphia Federation of Teachers. Mr. Roseman, thank you for being with us today.
Thanks so much for inviting me on.
Absolutely. You're our first guest here for Public Comment, so thank you for being here. So give us a little background on your work with the Philadelphia Federation of Teachers and what led you to your current position.
I was working in the early 1980s for the Department of Health in New Jersey, doing regulatory work. I stopped doing that after about 5 years and started working in Philadelphia, and the teachers union hired me to look at 12 schools in which major asbestos abatement work had occurred, and where there were concerns that additional and an independent look was needed. And I started working in 1985 looking at asbestos issues, and that's expanded to include all kinds of environmental issues today.
Okay. Now, you have a very long title, Director of Environmental Science and Occupational Safety and Health. So give us some perspective on what's your daily day and work day at working with the Philadelphia Federation of Teachers.
Well, in Philadelphia, this is pretty unique. The teachers union has funded an independent kind of watchdog looking at these issues. I am in the schools on a regular basis. I've done 1,000+ inspections, looking at mold issues, lead paint issues, lead in water, and in the safety arena, we're sometimes looking at fall hazards from roofs in schools and other kinds of major safety issues. So a lot of inspections.
Now, the city of Philadelphia is a very old or seasoned city, as some would say, and so our school buildings are also very old. So what type of challenges and concerns does that raise for you as someone who's working with the Philadelphia Federation of Teachers as an employee, and also what concerns does that present to members of PFT?
Well, older buildings, and our average age of Philadelphia public schools is about 70 years. Means that you have lead paint. This is one of the major kinds of issues from a health standpoint. It also means that you often have limited infrastructure capability. On the other hand, old buildings tend to be beautiful in many ways and easier to maintain in some regards than the newer buildings like Munoz Marin or other schools where we've seen some major mold issues. So on both sides, there are concerns in trying to figure out what to do with these buildings.
Now, I'm somewhat curious because when you say sometimes older buildings are a little bit easier to maintain, that's somewhat odd because you would think an older building is hard to maintain. So give us some perspective on how an older building may be a little bit easier to maintain compared to newer buildings.
Well, one of the things is the construction done in the 20s, 30s, and 40s tends to be better than some of the construction we've seen more recently. The second is that the systems in these buildings tend to be simpler. And simpler systems can be easier to maintain and can work quite effectively. As you put in more complex computerized ventilation systems, you need more money, more training, more resources, and they can be harder to maintain unless they are watched very closely.
And although our buildings are very old and they're probably built in a more stronger way because of the age and the building standards back then, and simpler as you would say, but they are still very old. So what are some of the concerns when you have such older buildings, and now it's, in 2017 going into 2018, what are some of the concerns and challenges to maintain these older buildings?
Well, you do have the infrastructure challenges like limited ability for electrical kinds of capacity. And so trying to put that in can sometimes cause environmental problems. You've got steam heating systems that often, when they leak, will damage the existing materials in the building, and in older buildings that means lead paint and it means asbestos. And those things can sometimes lead to mold themselves.
Now, you mentioned asbestos, lead paint, and mold, and there's been reports regarding different issues regarding that, which led to concerns that created the Philadelphia Healthy School Initiative. Can you talk about some of the concerns that you've seen when you inspect various schools around our city?
Sure. I think that those three issues are quite common, unfortunately. The other kinds of issues that are being dealt with frequently are runaway heating and cooling problems because those systems have largely failed, so we can't control hot and cold temperatures in the schools. And we often have rodent infestation because there are a lot of openings and deterioration in the buildings. With the population of children and staff we have, asthma is a major issue, and these things are asthma triggers, so we're worried about that.
Okay. And so what are some of the things that you've seen the school district do to try to address some of those issues and concerns?
Well, my work is often with the Environmental Management Department, and we have created kind of jointly efforts to inspect all the schools, to create dashboards and inventories of problems that we're seeing. There are lead exposure assessments, there's assessments for asbestos and for other kinds of issues. So we document problems pretty well. We're struggling to make sure those problems get fixed in as timely a way as we'd like.
And part of that struggle, is that based on finances? I know one of the issues we've talked about and we've heard about and even read about over the years is some of the lack of funding that the school district receives, especially from Harrisburg and not having a fair funding formula. How does the lack of funding impact our schools in reference to maintaining these older buildings?
Well, I think for all the buildings, the lack of funding and lack of resources is a very serious concern. The management and oversight of the programs is also a major concern and perhaps even more of a critical issue, but no one would suggest that we don't need more money here. We do.
And when you say management concerns, what are some additional things that you think that the school district could be doing regarding this issue?
Well, right now there's a major lead stabilization project going on in older schools. And that project is being done with too little public and union involvement and oversight and management, and is resulting in ongoing problems and extra costs. If we do that better, if there's more public oversight and engagement and more expert oversight and engagement, we'll save money, we'll do the work more effectively, and we'll make sure these buildings are healthful and safe. So that's not more of a money issue, it's a better spending of the resources we do have.
And how do you balance the issue when you say something like lead and you're trying to remove that as soon as possible, but also provide opportunity for transparency like you talked about that causes a challenge? Is there ways that you can balance those two challenging issues?
Well, this is where I may be on one pole of this kind of issue. I think public engagement, public oversight is critical. More eyes, more minds focused on the problem normally means more perspectives and more chance for solutions. The teachers union has funded this environmental science effort that has a certain level of expertise and experience. Between all of us, we could come up with better approaches. And I think that when work is handled properly and communicated properly, the fear that is sometimes generated is dissipated. You should know what's going on, and I think knowing and understanding what's happening is a pretty good way to lower the fear and concern and explain what we're doing.
So when there are reports or news stories about mold and other health issues in our schools, what it sounds like what I'm hearing from you is that we provide more information both to the teachers and other employees that work in our schools about what's happening, as well as to the parents, that'll help address some of the concerns and fears people may have based on when they read these news reports.
I think yes. I think in my experience, it's been 30 plus years in the schools, it's very difficult to restrict information or to hide it. It always comes out, and then people are angry and suspicious. You're better to say, we found a mold issue in your school or an asbestos issue in your school. We're working together to fix this, and here's what we're doing. And if you have questions or concerns, please tell us. We'll try to respond to that. We don't do that well enough in the district right now. We need to do that part better.
And the point of what you said earlier, that you actually work with the district hand in hand in trying to address some of these issues and raising that awareness, but it seems like there needs to be a better way for people to inform and get the information out from the school district about what's going on in our schools. Yes,
and that's why your help and the help of other council members is instrumental in trying to get information more out there. As you know, there was a right to know request filed for that reason. It would be much better if all the information was open and shared. The City of Philadelphia has an opendata.gov approach, and even the school district has open data. They've put demographic information. It's time to put infrastructure and environmental information up there, and that will open this up.
Now, how does the Philadelphia School District compare to other cities in reference to information regarding the physical environment of their schools?
I think in terms of the physical environment and the environmental environment, they are pretty much in line with many other districts. Some do this quite a bit better, others do it worse. But in that level of information, they are unfortunately pretty much in line with this.
So it sounds like they're following what a lot of other school districts do, but it seems like it'd be more to their benefit if they provided more information regarding the physical environment of the schools, because that will help alleviate some of the concerns that people may have and misinformation they may have based on news reports. And that will help not only teachers as well as parents as well regarding what's happening in the schools.
I think that's true. I think we're doing pretty much what other cities do, but we are doing more than many other cities in evaluation.
Okay.
So in addition to putting that out there to show people what's happening here in Philadelphia, what we're doing, we then need that extra step of having more oversight and control of this as well. But
Okay.
yes, I'd say it's much better to put that out there.
Right. So more oversight and control, but it sounds like the school district is actually doing better than other school districts in reference to evaluation. But the key is taking that evaluation and getting that information out to the public so people know what's going on in our schools.
Correct, and acting on it. We find lead paint, we find asbestos issues, we find mold. That needs to be fixed quickly and properly.
Right.
And that's the essential
And
issue.
in a way that's transparent so people know what's going on.
Correct.
Well. Okay, absolutely. I'm a parent of a child in the school district. My son attends a high school in the school. So what would you say to parents who have their children in the school district or other members of the Philadelphia Federation of Teachers or other employees in the schools if they see an issue that they find troubling regarding a school that they work in or that they send their child to?
Well, it's interesting. I've actually done this recently with the school district at McCall and at Jackson and at Nebinger with parents who are asking just this question. And what I've said is you should work to help the coalition and everybody get information from the district so you know what's happening at your school. You need to know what's happening at your school. And then to go through principals, to go through the school district management chain, and you can reach out through the union to somebody like me, but the school district should be informed about issues and concerns, and they should respond. They are responsible for telling me about infrastructure and environmental issues as part of an agreement between the PFT and the school district. We're trying to make sure that's always enforced, but there's that element as well.
Gotcha. So now that we've had this other debate regarding local control, and how do you think now that we've kind of taken back control of our schools, how will that change in management and governance of our schools impact this issue regarding physical safety in our schools?
Well, I think that it's a good thing, especially in the sense that we can reach you more quickly and more directly, and that's very good. I think that there needs to be public engagement. It's obviously you're very reachable, as are some of the other council folks in the mayor's office. So it's in that way I think we can do something really special here. It is a challenge, but really special.
Okay, so it sounds like now that we have local control, that may give us an opportunity to do some of the things that you talked about, using some of the things the school district's doing from evaluation, and now getting that information out now that we have local control, as well as talk about how we can do a better job of getting to those issues as well.
I think so, and I think that's the key, is let's get these fixed, because we know that schools are the backbone of the community, and you need infrastructure that is stable and a foundation to build on.
Mr. Jerry Roseman, thank you for being our first guest on Public Comments, and we enjoyed your presentation, and thank you for all the advocacy that you do.
My pleasure, thank you.
More from Public Comment in a few moments, and we'll go to our social media session when we come right back.
The Water Department's most important mission is to provide top-quality drinking water to our citizens and businesses 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. But it's important to note that homeowners are responsible for the maintenance and repair of their home water systems. This includes the water service line, which runs from the city's water main and brings clean water into your home. If this pipe freezes or breaks, it can be costly to repair. During the winter months, extremely low temperatures and cold air blowing through drafty windows can damage pipes and water meters, leaving many people without water. So here are some easy tips to protect your home water systems this winter. Shut off outside water faucets from the inside valves. To drain these faucets, leave the outside valves open. Wrap and insulate all water pipes in unheated areas. This foam that can be purchased at any hardware store can be used to wrap and insulate all water pipes. You should do this in sheds, under kitchen floors, and in garages, essentially any place that's unheated. Keep the area around your water meter above 40 degrees Fahrenheit. If your water meter is located in an area that is not heated, wrap its connecting pipe with insulation. If you have any windows that are near water meters or your water pipes, you want to insulate them. You can purchase any window insulation kits from any hardware store. It's really easy to do. Caulk windows near water meters or pipes. Cover these windows with plastic. You should also replace or cover cracked or broken windows. If you own a vacant property, have a registered plumber winterize it. Every September, we mail this brochure with your water bill as a handy guide for water emergencies. Remember to protect your home plumbing systems from freezing by using these simple steps. For more information about the Water Department's operations and services, please call 215-685-6300 or visit our website at www.phillywatersheds.org.
Hi, I'm Councilman Curtis Jones Jr., and you are watching PHL Gov TV.
Welcome back to Public Comment. For anyone who's ever been to a city council session, we have a public comment session during city council that allows the citizens of our great city to come and give their views on legislation that we're debating in city council. And this is why I named this show Public Comment. And so now we're going to segue to our social media session to give an opportunity for people to give public comment, and we'll discuss that and we'll give those views during this session. So I put out a call on social media for your answers to the following questions, and you weighed in. Question 1. What are you most hoping for as a result of the city regaining local control of our schools? Theodore Smith writes on Facebook, we need people who know the city and schools, and they can make better experienced judgments for which schools to close, renovate, and add to the school curriculum. What are some of the things you think the city can do to help market itself better globally? Yvette Thompson writes on Facebook, we need to reduce gun violence in our city. Where in Philadelphia do you think that there could be more emphasis placed on small businesses? On Facebook, Yvette Thompson says, in Southwest Philadelphia. And Theodore Smith says, we need to invest in our commercial corridors, and we need Amazon. And Theodore, I'm glad you talked and raised Amazon, because on our next time on Public Comment, we'll look at what Philadelphia is doing to attract and retain both small and big businesses on an international scale. And we'll touch on what came out of the city's bid for the second headquarters for Amazon. I want to thank you for tuning in for my very first episode of Public Comment. I leave you with these words to ponder from the legendary football coach Vince Lombardi. The difference between a successful person and others is not a lack of strength nor a lack of knowledge, but rather is a lack of will. I'm Councilman Derek Green, and I'll see you next time on Public Comment. Take care.